Okay, so in September of 2013, four of us took a 7-day, 2,000-mile trip into Canada. We just hugged the Canadian border, Canadian-U.S. border, and there was four of us that went. Jason right there, he's the one that planned the trip. Jason and then Sam went, and Kevin and myself also went. We all gathered together at Jason's house to begin the trip, and here we go. On day one, we traveled 251 miles from Spokane, Washington to Whitefish, Montana. We did not get very far, less than 100 miles, when this happened. What had happened was Sam had just purchased some very expensive free-flowing exhaust pipes for his Triumph, and while we were coming down this hill decelerating, he got some backfire and then killed his engine, and then we all pulled over. So he tried to start it, and it was just deader than a mackerel. Nothing would happen, so we all put our heads together and trying to figure out what's going on. Made a couple phone calls. We were there for about a half an hour until I can't remember if it was Jason or Kevin that figured it out. He had killed it and rolled to a stop in fifth gear, so all we needed to do was put it in neutral, pull the clutch in, and it started right up. Elementary, my dear Watson. And we made a stop here at Indian Head Motorsports in Libby, Montana, where they have these really old motorcycles there from all different manufacturers. Very interesting. And if you went inside, you'd see them stacked right next to each other with dust on them, and pretty old motorcycles, and pretty neat to just look around. And the next morning we got up early in Whitefish and headed out to Cranbrook, which was 278 miles.
Okay, here we are at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm heading down to Starbucks, and here's how our bikes line up.
And here Jason got stung by a bee and had a reaction to it, so we all pulled over real quick. And I was nominated to go back to town and get some bee sting medicine. So I rode back to town real quick, parked my motorcycle on the outskirts of the parking lot, went in the store in full gear, did not even take my helmet off, bought the stuff, went back out to the parking lot, and to my surprise, my motorcycle was still running. By the time I got back, he had already recovered and he was ready to go. And we arrived at the top of the pass, which is called Logan Pass. And we kind of just hung out here for a while, kind of relaxing, soaking in the sights. And then we just started mounting up, and we got on our bikes and headed out. And in Montana, helmets are optional. Okay, we're up and about a little early today from Cranbrook to Osoyoos, Canada, 276 miles.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, leaving the days in. This is the beginning of day 4. Day 3.
Yours? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
All right.
Morning, Chuck.
Morning.
Morning, Chuck.
We're ready to leave.
Here we are. Where are we?
Kevin, say hi. We're leaving.
Good morning. We're leaving.
All right. We got turn 3. And we're leaving. Heading out.
Day 3.
And I had this skeleton mask on right there. As you can see, the day before I was talking to Jason and I was just telling him I always wanted one. Well, he snuck off to the Harley-Davidson dealer when we got in last night and bought one and gave it to me this morning. So we traveled about 100 miles from Cranbrook and decided that we needed a rest right here. And unbeknownst to us, Kevin, I believe it was Kevin, went out and bought everybody a cigar here. So we sat around and smoked a cigar before we left.
Our Osoyoos, right? We're in Osoyoos. Osoyoos, Canada. Right?
BC, bring cash.
We're gonna go get some ice cream. Look at that face.
Not ice cream, Jack. We're not getting ice.
We're not?
Gelato.
Oh, good.
Kevin wants gelato.
Gelato. This is some gelato ice cream.
And we traveled from Osoyoos to Parksville, 317 miles. Took a ferry ride across the Georgia Strait on the ferry and up along the coastline to Parksville.
Okay, we're at the Best Western Inn in Osoyoos, Canada. And here's Kevin, he's loading up his bike.
Maybe.
Getting everything just perfect like everybody else.
Maybe. Maybe.
And here's Sam in Osoyoos, getting his gear.
All you got was slow moving vehicles for the next 8 kilometers. That don't mean shit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, no
It doesn't mean a guy mowing the lawn.
red-blooded Canadian.
What's the name of this town?
I don't need any Princeton.
Princeton?
Guess what?
Okay.
Then we're gonna go back down to the EC Manning Convention Park up in the
What are we waiting for?
What are we waiting for?
Yeah,
It's like the train dispatchers.
train dispatcher.
Red block.
All right, we got done eating. We're full.
Got my war paint on.
Fish and chips,
Yeah, war paint. Oh yeah.
Get the war paint going.
We stopped here in Langley, BC at the local Harley-Davidson dealer, Barnes Harley-Davidson. And we went inside there and looked around a little bit. We needed a rest anyway, so it was a convenient place for us to stop. And then we took off. Here we are approaching the greater Vancouver, BC area. We're traveling down the Trans-Canadian Highway over the Fraser River on this bridge, the Port Mann Bridge, which opened 10 lanes of traffic in 2012, and it's 1.26 miles long, and the towers are 246 feet high. And here we are paying our due fees to get on the Horseshoe Bay ferry that takes us across the Strait of Georgia to Vancouver Island. I have an amazing iPhone story to tell. Shortly after this scene right here, we came to a stoplight, and because my iPhone wasn't securely on my motorcycle, it fell off at the light, and I did not even discover it for another hour and a half when we pulled into the motel later on that night. And I also got separated from the guys that are leaving the ferry there, and they so graciously waited ahead for me, and I finally caught up with them. Of all things, a fellow motorcycle rider found my iPhone at the light and opened it up and made a phone call to the last number I had called, which was Kevin. And Kevin's sitting in his motel room and gets a call, and the guy brings my iPhone 20 miles out and gives me my iPhone back. On day 5 here, we just took a day trip around the island, about 241 miles. We needed to take a break because the road was extremely rough and it beat us up pretty darn good. So we talked about it here, about what we would do for the next several miles. And Jason and I decided to go ahead and fly over the rough section, and when we found it was not so rough, we would pull over And Kevin and Sam decided that they were just going to take it easy, and they would catch up with us later. And here we reached the south end of the island, overlooking the Straits of Juan de Fuca, and we spent quite a bit of time here. And again, we had to ride in the dark a little bit to get home, and so we're just kind of figuring out what we want to do here. So we decided to go get ourselves a bite to eat at this local restaurant here. So we all just pulled in and backed in and went inside and had a nice meal. We were pretty tired.
Video and taking a camera.
Oh wow, that's a good shot. You got a bright face, man. What have you been doing?
I can't see now.
That's a bright face too.
Damn, put that right in my eyes. Jeez.
Just a second.
Hey, that is bright.
There. Now you can do it, Chuck. Now there. I can see you now.
And we got up the next morning and left Parksville and traveled 255 miles. We crossed the ferry back into the USA, and we arrived at the town of Sadro-Woolley, where we left Kevin because it was the end of his journey, while Sam, Jason, and I continued on. And we're all packed up, ready to go here. We're just heading out to get some breakfast at Lefty's. traveled about 70 miles down the highway to the ferry terminal. It was cold and very foggy, as you can see. I got some water spots on my lens here. So we rolled up a little further here and just kind of waited our turn to get on the ferry, which was really a big ferry, as you'll see here. And here we arrive at Blaine, Washington, the border crossing between Canada and the United States. And this was kind of a strange sight here as we were sitting there in line waiting to pull up to the border crossing to hand them all our paperwork. And we arrived at Cedro Woolley, and this is where we departed ways with Kevin as he stayed behind here while Sam, Jason, and I continued on to our campsite. The original plan was to spend half our nights camping, so we all took sleeping bags and tents. But as you can see, we only ended up one night, which is this night, camping. So we left our comfortable campsite and traveled another 220 miles to Spokane, where we ended our journey. And we stopped just a few miles outside of Spokane, fueled our bikes up, said our goodbyes, and we took off. And Jason here, he's the one that planned the whole 7-day trip.